Hello and welcome to this video on the new rules I'm proposing for my version of what used to be Android Netrunner. I like what Nisei is doing. I believe it's going to result in a few core things coming back I have issues with, but so far they've done a wonderful job. But like I said, I'm a selfish and very controversial, scary boogie person, whatever. Anyway, point is, I have ideas, and this is what I'd want. It's like the way to want. I want like color pies to be brought back. You've probably seen this before in the previous video. I've also done a video about like bids and stuff like that, and like situations that can happen in meat space. But this is the general idea I'm trying to go for. So, and if you're playing against MBN, you can expect the board state to be quite large. It's going to be very like lots of layers of ice, lots of assets. So it's tall and wide. Yeah, Wayland is going to be like maybe one server, or maybe two servers at most, and it's going to be like lots of ice, glacier style. Yeah, and then you're going to HB can be anything. Jinteki is going to be lots of servers with maybe one piece of ice in front of them. Neutral can be anything. All the ambient ice is going to be cheap. The Wayland ice is going to be expensive. HB ice is going to be like mid-range. Jinteki could be like any size. Ambien's econ is going to be mostly drip fed, like to mirror subscriptions that they get. Wayland can get money from many sources, and it's going to come thick and fast and with lots of bad pub. HB is going to be like it's going to be conditional with clicks and stuff like that, click save, and yeah, you're going to get some credits and some cards. It's going to always come bundled in with something else. And Jinteki is going to have mostly burst with a downside of some kind. MBN is going to be like a very control based and denial. And it's gonna do anything. It's gonna be able to play like glacial, and it's gonna be able to play death. It's gonna be a little bit of everything, but like mostly it's gonna be control and denial. Wayland is gonna be reprisal and removal of stuff, like trashing hardware. HB taxing, and like very efficient glacier style. That's it. Jinteki is going to be very kill, misdirection rest, and that's what I'm going for. So that's it, and that's what I want to see. I want to see criminals be very early game. I want to see shapers be very late game, and anarchs can be whatever anarchs do. They just don't know what the hell's going on. Very sacrificial. Anyway, these are the new rules I'm going to use to get that effect. Going to introduce meat running. So if you've played L5R, if you've seen L5R, you can make a military attack or you can make a political attack, and the effect, well, mechanics wise it's pretty much the same thing, except one's red, one's blue, and you got like two sets of attack and defense and whatnot. In our case, it's just gonna let the runner expose stuff. So if you net run, you access normal game, like that you played with Netrunner before. But in meat running, you're not too worried about the ice unless it's in meat space. But if when you go to a server, you can expose a card in HQ, expose like top two cards of R&D, or expose a card on a field where you're running archives. And you can also like meat run like a server to expose something in the server, and it can also meat run to your resources. It gets you an ability. It's just basically clicking an ability. If you click an ability like a resource on your side of the field, that's considered effectively a meat run. Well, for the most part, except if it's virtual, but that's the general idea anyway. And it gives an in-game way to expose stuff and make exposure more relevant, because outside of 419 so far, where you got money for exposing stuff, there wasn't really a true need to expose, because after a while you could kind of get a feel for the board state without even seeing any of the cards, because if you play the meta enough you can kind of work out what's where, and there was no need to. Um, well, I'm gonna make it so that you're gonna actually might need to expose some stuff just to be sure, because there's gonna be some anti-expose stuff. There's going to be some traps. There's going to be lots of reasons why you might want to expose, and it's actually going to be a reason to play the anti-expose cards as well. So that's all going to go in, make exposure more real, make it more fun and strategic, rather than okay, I've played this game long enough, I know what to do. Right, bitcode or situations. Basically, in meat space, instead of hitting subroutines like you hit like subroutines on ice, you're going to hit situations. And instead of playing side games, you're going to do this bitcode thing, because like ones and zeros. So I don't know, just a binary game. Or I'm going to change this to binary game because it is a binary game. A yes or no on if a thing happens, based on a series of 50-50 side games. Effectively, there's a video on this as well. I'll put the link in the description, and then you can see that. So Jiteki having side games was very fun. I liked that, and I thought there should be like a more generic version with a lot lower stakes and baked right into the game that you can do. So I'm imagining that if you meet run on Wayland, they've got lots of gangs and goons. So imagine playing, instead of a scorched earth, they got a tag on you where they can put you in a situation. And you'll see a card that gives you an example of that later in the next slide. But that's the general idea. Just more ways to have fun. Keywords. Okay, this is a big one. I should really make a list of all the keywords. That's going to be on a file. I'll probably put that in the description as well. All the keywords are going to be in the description. It's a bit heady right now and it's a bit unwieldy, but the idea is that you put all the keywords in the core set, and those are the keywords. And once you got your head around that, and that is the hardest thing to do, because I remember Netrunner being a very hard game to get into, and this makes it very cumbersome and not user friendly. But once you get your head around that, what it allows for rule changes. It makes things very well defined, and it saves card space. It lets you. It just lets you do more things with less, and if you need to change like a ruling on a card. If you change a ruling, you can just change the ruling on the keyword, and then you'd have to change nothing on the card, and people all understand that okay, there's been a changing in the way that this keyword works. Okay, and the signature. This is going to replace tracing, and there's going to be another video after this where I'm going to show you how that works. And basically, it just stops the massive amount of cash from being overly dominating, because just getting a bunch of cash and then you don't bother with tracing anymore. You just let the trace win or lose. You already know. You don't really bother fighting it out, and there's no point in it. But with this, it makes tracing more dynamic, and you're going to see that in the video about how tracing has a bigger effect and why you're going to want to put some stuff in to worry about tracing in your deck. Okay, and prep. That is just a keyword effectively, but basically it's just a status effect given to a card or in a server or the last event's been exposed. So for example, remember the meat run. For example, if you meat run on HQ and expose a card in HQ, that means HQ is prepped, because you can't really mark the card in HQ, but you can make it easier just to mark the server. So if you meat run on a server, then if you meet on a central server, then that central server is prepped. If you want to mark the card itself by meat running, exposing it, then that card itself is prepped. And that's the idea. So that's gonna make archives a difficult thing though, because archives, yeah. Anyway, I'll go into that later on. But the idea is that let's say you got forced activation orders that where you pick a card and you res it. Well, if you prep it, you have to. I'm going to make the condition, instead of having to run HQ first, you have to prep it. So, for example, you've got a face down card, You expose it, and that card is prepped because that's the last thing exposed. And now if you play Forced Demolition, you already know whether or not what in general what's going to happen, but the corporation doesn't know if that's going to be if you're going to play that card. But there's a general idea already like of what's going to be affected by targeted effects like that. Yeah, and I just think it just gives you an idea of what's going to happen of strategic play, because maybe the Cord can expose one of their own cards, and that ruins your prep. You know, there's ways to counteract these targeted effects. So not all effects are going to use prep, but if it does use prep, you know, maybe I can do that with a really powerful effect. For example, let's just say and destroy the last prep dice. Oh, okay, I know you're going to try and destroy that card because you prepped it. Well, I'm going to play the Colt's going to play its card to expose another card, and now that card's prepped. So if you try and do that kill that last prepped card effect, now that card gets destroyed. It just adds a nice dynamic play. And also, remember in the original core set there was a Jinteki card that stopped exposure. Well, they can stop your prep. So there's counterplay, and that's the idea of why you'd want prep. Right. So I've got some of my example cards here before. I've shown them. I've shown them before, but mostly going to focus on this Shaper one here. See, I made a really crappy symbol, and the idea is that you can that symbol might mean if you're what's it called? Oh, what was the keyword? Sorry. If you're famed or famous. So let's just say if you're famed or famous, then this card is trashed. The making connections is trashed, and then you draw one card. So why would that be important? Well, see, the first time you make a successful run, each turn you may draw 2 cards. That's fun. That's easy. So you can just imagine, so each turn you're drawing 2 cards. That's great. But if you draw too many cards, then the card trashes itself and gives you another card. See, there are limits. So you're not just going to draw cards endlessly off that. There's a limit, and being able to symbolize that with just a symbol is great. Because maybe there's like some ambiguity. Well, you know, like let's say, oh, I'm supposed to draw more cards, but I've got no more cards in the deck. You know, I can say, oh no, well it's not trash because you're not famed. You know, I can write an FAQ for just the symbol, and then you don't have to look for the card specifically. You can just look for the symbol, and all the FAQ things will be there. And this card on the right here, we're doing this. I've just put the little block in here to represent a situation. And this situation has 5 parts to it. So the first part of the situation is meat damage. Second part of the situation is a tag. Third part is an end the run. Fourth part, is -1 credit. Fifth part is -1 credit. So let's just say the runner has exposed this card. Then they open themselves up to this situation, and you can watch the video on how the bit code works, but let's just say, okay, they managed to avoid taking the meat damage, they avoid taking the tag, but they have to end the run. Okay, and the run ends. So yeah, so that means if they was going to expose another card at this one, because in general exposing on a meat run exposes 2 cards, but let's just say this is the first card they meet, then their run ends and they only expose this card, and that's it, and that's the idea, and that can happen, and that's what this card can do. Or maybe I can put this inside of a tag. So if they got a tag, I could play this, and then okay, they could possibly get a meat damage, possibly get a second tag. Well, the run can't end because they're not running, so that's a misnomer. But either way, if that run ends, then maybe they in this case they want to hit it, so they don't have to worry about losing a credit. So there's a risk there for the corporation as well as the realm, and that's like another thing that can happen. See, that's just adds so many dynamics to this. Ooh, wait. So where's the card actually? So right now, we're doing this. The runner can choose one option. They can take 2 meat damage straight up. The Corp can just gain 10 and 1 bad publicity. Or they could probably be put in a situation. That'd be another situation. Another thing that could happen as well. But I don't know if that wouldn't work that way so far. But anyway, that's the point. These are what the new rules bring to the table. You can see on this shipment from Miramorph. Oh, that's badly labeled. It's supposed to be a response team. If your meat access it, you have to go into a situation where there's a possibility of 1 meat damage. And the first meat damage each turn gets an added added meat damage, so you could possibly get 2 meat damage there. And if you're famed, like from the green card, you know, just it costs you 1 credit, and you can just give them a meat damage. It can meat damage them down. It's a good card. And this is a thing about clearances on this criminal one. Install after HQ run this turn. I'm gonna think I should change that to install after prepping HQ, just to make it more readable. Again, it cuts out that line, so that's the thing I can do, because this is before I came up with the keywords thing here. So once per meat run, the runner may skip 1 bid. So like again, so for example, if you was running into this, you could skip the meat damage, or you can skip the tag, or you can skip the end of run. You could just skip one of those if you got this installed. And you know, you can trash it. So if the runner gets tagged, then they have to trash it, and you know, they take meat damage, and that's a dangerous part of having that card. So you don't want to just have this card. That's the idea. It's dynamic. So I've prattled on enough. As you can see, I'm very excited about it. I hope that you have some things to say, even if it's hateful and hurtful. And I know it's convoluted and you don't need it, but just type it in there. Just let me hear about it, how bad it is and stuff like that. But I enjoy it so far. I just need to figure out a way to design the cards, because ordinary Netrunner cards aren't going to cut it. They do have to be specifically designed to handle the new data formats here, and that's the idea, because it's different. It's not Android Netrunner. This is like cyber warfare now. This is something completely different. So yeah, I'm going to try and do some programmer art. I've been given some really good suggestions on what to do, and it's coming along. It's taken me a long time, but I only need to design the core set for this once, and that's it. If anyone wants to go on and add on to it, they can add on to it, and that'll be fun. Goodbye.